I know what I forgot to do. That would explain that. There. That'll stop the weird shadowing issue. All right. Let me fix this real quickly. I say just pause in a moment, letting a few more people show up. Okay. Yeah, well, good morning. Welcome to Mid-Morning Medium Chat, Sunday's edition. This is Adam, the Black Swamp Medium. Thanks for showing up today. Hello, Carrie, Margaret, Tina. Like I said, special edition Sunday chat because yesterday was late. Hey, Nikki, good morning and good afternoon. And it was funny was when I was creating the reminder post that I wasn't going to be on, I almost threw it in there that late Friday night, come to find out that some of the family plans that were going to be happening yesterday morning ended up getting pushed back a few hours. But at that point, it was just too late to try to squeeze it in, and I didn't want to rush myself, because I'm trying to take care of myself, and I didn't want to overdo it. But yeah, it was kind of funny that I probably could have squeezed it in, but then again, there was probably going to be a lot of noise and then rushing, after the show. So it still made sense to push to today, but it would have been funny to still make that attempt, but I didn't. Which is okay. Like I said, I'm not, I wasn't in any screaming rush to get it, on, and I already told everybody it was going to be today anyway. So I thought that, that was going to work out okay. So yeah, well, like I said, thanks for being here on a Sunday morning. So whether you're seeing this live or you are going to maybe check this out later on today or maybe during the week, that's awesome. I appreciate you still taking a peek. And, as I continue to return back to things, like normal, for those that have been around a while, I like to try to go over what's happened during the week and then, see if anything's gone on with anybody in particular. Cause, a lot of astrological things, tactic. Yeah. I guess you could say there was some starry stuff happening this week, especially this past Tuesday. Depends on how you want to look at it. But I did want to actually start on Halloween. Or Samhain, depending how you, depending on what you are into more. I'm right in the middle of both, so I do enjoy them both. But yeah, I mentioned on last Saturday's show that I had every intention to show up, Tuesday evening and pull some cards and things, and it was so odd. Hey, Kate, good morning. Oh, okay. If you want to share anything, let me know in the chat. I'd be curious. Yeah, it was so odd that, I was off work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and which was, sides, things. So I was burning 3 days, had to work 2 days. Then I'm off all next week, and then I'll work 5 days, and then I'm off 3 days, Thanksgiving week. So that's still cool. I mentioned it last weekend, but I'm only working like 11 actual days this month. So, who can complain about that? A little time off, but yeah. So, I mean, hey, Kelly, good morning. And so, I, had the intentions of doing readings, and I thought, and I have to say, I thought, now I didn't really check in, which is, it's probably a bad thing on my part. I probably should have asked my guides and everything behind me supporting me. I should have said, hey, what do you think? Instead of just saying, yeah, I think I'll be fine. I can pull cards. It's not going to be too, draining, especially on Halloween. And with me being home, I've helped out with, getting the kids to school and allowing the wife to, start her, job on time instead of delayed and then working later into the evenings and things. So I, was rushing the kids around and stuff like that. And I noticed that, not that part, but after I got home and I finally got to relax a little bit, I just started feeling funky. And it wasn't like I was coming down with something or being sick. Something seemed off. And I kept thinking, oh, okay, maybe I'm getting a cold or something. I don't know. And I yeah, well, too late, Dad. You're screwed now. You're just gonna have to leave, and then you have to watch the show from the beginning. So no starty over you stuff. But um, but yeah, so I started feeling funky, and I wasn't sh and I at fir like, again, I thought maybe it's just a cold thing or something. I wasn't even trying to envision that it was something spiritual or anything, and I knew it was Halloween. I even was telling myself, I'm like, "Well, I know it's Halloween, some people really heavily believe, the veil is thinner. There's others that it's just like, yeah, whatever, and, but it just kept feeling weird and weird, and, of course, I'm thinking about, the rest of the day. I was hanging out, getting the kids, and then, uh, you know, prepping for the evening because again, I was gonna, we wanted to take our son out trick or treating, and then, I'd get back to the house in time to, get it started, and it just wouldn't go away, wouldn't go away, and finally, it was late in the afternoon, and it was, I don't know, maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I think I was thinking about it as I was picking up my son, and I'm like, and the light bulb goes off. So obviously they were tapping me on the shoulder, finally smacking me, being like, okay, we've been trying to get this across to you, but you're not paying attention. You were just ignoring us. And so I'm like, am I supposed to do this tonight? Am I supposed to jump on and do readings? And it was like, instantly it was like, no, you shouldn't. And I'm like, so so I felt a little defeated over it because I was, I wanted to. I really had the hope, the intention to do that. I was excited to. And even said, I was like, well, I am going to take it easy. And I just thought, well, I'll minimize as much as I can to just, take those steps. And sure enough, I mean, it's like as soon as I thought that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not supposed to do it. I'm not supposed to do it. They're clearly have been making me feel crappy all day in a way. And I'm like, nope, I can't do it. And so when I came, hey, Rhonda, good morning. And so when I got home after picking him up, and I waited just a little bit longer. So it was like, yeah, it was now more like 4 o'clock, 4:30. I'm just like, nope. And so I ended up posting it at some point. I don't know what time that was, but I just was like, I can't do it. It just as much as I wanted to, like I said, I just couldn't. And as soon as I did make that decision, which was why I also delayed posting it, that wasn't going to go live uh Tuesday night, instantly, like 60 seconds of making that decision to stop, everything just lifted. And sometimes it's a gradual for me. It's like, okay, you start to feel better slowly, and it just kind of it ramps up. This was a minute, and I was like instantly felt perfectly fine. And I was like, then I really, really knew at that point. I'm like, yep, completely ignored them. I should have paid attention. I should have asked about it instead of throwing it out there right away that I was just going to do this. And I couldn't believe how fast I felt. And then I was fine the rest of the evening. And let me back up for a second before keep talking about Halloween and some of the other fun stuff. Kelly's saying, if here, I should do this again. I forgot that I can do these. Is there something going on for the past 2 weeks? I've had it rough too. Just stuff slowing me down. I mean, and Kelly, that's like I was saying, there was a full moon prior to Halloween. You've got, so that's always a lot of changes. And then you've had Halloween. You've got, um, uh, even then, people forget that also Day of the Living and Day of the Dead are November 1st and 2nd. So you have a very, this week alone is very, all over the place when it comes to energies and things. And again, we all are going to experience it differently depending on where you're at in your journey. So yeah, it is. And like I said before, I kind of float sometimes because for me, and I've talked about this, over the years, that uh I find, like, yes, there's activity now, and I don't deny that. When it comes to the veil and things, I kind of, sorry, I thought I saw something. We had, cats and things running around the window. I can see, I thought a cat was there. No, there's not a spirit because there was a cat there last week. So that's why I was like, what? I was see, the cat got me all distracted. It must have been a black cat, right? That's all spooky now. No, I realized that now that we've gotten past this, and like I said, there's definitely activity, no doubt about it. But what I have found over the years is that December and like I said, I've talked about this in the past. December, it is an explosion of activity. And when I realized, so much more activity, there's so many more spirits trying to get messages across. And I realized that, because Christmas, other than some stress for people of, getting the gatherings together, getting, presents for everybody and all the stuff that's involved. I mean, you have that stress, but then when you are all together and you have those, positive moments, that loving and just being around everybody and celebrating the holidays for what they are, which is just being together. And, I just strongly feel, and nobody's ever really hardcore talked about it, but I strongly feel that, that's a lot where a lot of our relatives are coming back because, you know, Halloween, everybody, some people celebrate, some people don't. And yet you look at Christmas and it's pretty universal, across the board. So it makes sense for me, that there is. And so I'll just tell you all, I mean, we all have abilities, we've gone over that before, but keep in mind that just be a little bit more aware, when we get into December. I mean, truly, wait till December and see what happens, and see if you notice things that are a little bit more. I mean, yes, we're going to have, the winter solstice. I mean, so that's going to happen. And, so there is star stuff happening. But yeah, there just take notice, you know what I mean? And I know like Kelly, she's a, paranormal investigator. And so, even for her, still being sensitive enough to where, you realize you go someplace and you can just feel the energy is different, and that, and I'm not saying it's gonna be bad or negative, but you're just gonna feel it. You're gonna absolutely feel it. Um, let's see. Margaret was saying this was off a week from the standpoint of things seeming off as well as getting sick and right. Yep. What else we got? Let's see. Okay. Hey Jeff, sorry I missed you. I was on that. Let's see. Which that was. Yeah. Yeah. Seeing Margaret's dealing with COVID, so we wish her well. Cameron, no, geez. It's Julia, you don't. Okay. Yeah, Kelly, just take a look. Hey, Amy, your black cats are good. That's true. I'm not against them. Like I said last week when I looked over, it's sitting. I'm in the basement. This is where I do all my stuff for the shows. And it's my desk. We have a family desk upstairs too, but I do all the shows down here. But I could see the basement window, and I've seen flashed. It was just looking at me through the window, and I think it's a black cat, if I'm not mistaken. But I haven't cleaned that window in a few years, so it's a little dirty, so I can't see details, just shadow. But let's see, Carrie. If you ignore your guides, they find a way. If they want to slow down, you don't. They will find. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's been so true for the entire summer. Much of what I talked about. I mean, anytime when I would when I went like a month and a half, 2 months, and then I started feeling good, and I was like, all right, I'm not. I feel like I'm doing good. I waited a whole week, and as soon as I was like ready to take that big step, and then it was like, boom, you're back down, and I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, it is so true. They have the darndest ways of making us known. My dad, I want the winning mega and Powerball tickets. Yeah, who wouldn't? uh as long as you play it, you got to play it. um Kate's saying, is there a way to make the energy more positive and productive as opposed to slowing us down and making things more difficult? Well, it's, I kind of said it. I just didn't harp on it. But interesting enough, Kate, hold on to that, because when I kind of get into the topic of today, you're gonna hear me kind of answer that. So I'm gonna hold off on that one, because it is gonna be involved in the topic later on. Um, Slow it down. You move too fast. You got to make it the morning light. What are you, a poet now? You're gonna start rhyming? Jeez, I'm not even putting that up on the screen. That's not gonna happen. So, but yeah, so real quickly, and then like I said, we'll get into the topic. I usually try to get close to 10 o'clock anyway. So, um, and so so we so once I made a decision, I started feeling great. We ate real quick for dinner, and then we're getting we started noticing, and I mean, I was hearing reports all from Simon and Garfunkel. Okay. I mean, it did sound familiar, but then I still had to make the poet thing. So I knew it sounded familiar. I didn't think of what it was right away. Um, but uh we were hearing reports of some snow, and it was predicted that we were going to get some snow. But I'm thinking, okay, it's just going to be a few flurries in the air, no big deal, because we were hearing, and I was talking to a few friends in different places in Michigan that, especially I have a friend that's near Lake Michigan, and they were getting hammered pretty good. And I remember him the next day telling me that there was some parts along Lake Michigan that got so much lake effect snow that there was over 11, right around 11 inches of it. And I'm like, holy smokes. I mean, that's insane. And then they said a lot of it, he mentioned a lot of power was out because you think about it, there's a lot of weight, and it was wet, heavy snow. And so it was weighing everything down. Plus, obviously, not all the leaves. He made a good point. Not all the leaves were, still on trees. So if any trees are, power lines are going through trees or laying on it and stuff. So yeah, that was crazy. So I had, so we thought, okay, it'll just be a few flurries. Well, we noticed as we were getting ready and getting dressed warm because it was only in the, it was like 36 when trick or treating started. So we saw a few flakes in the air. We're like, okay, that's cool. It's a few flakes, no big deal, right? And and then we go outside, and it's there's some flurries, no big deal. So we go to our neighbor right next to us, and it was starting to pick up a little bit more, and then it just by the time we got to the next house, it was dumping. It was dumping so much that it was, I mean, really, it was close to a whiteout. It looked so heavy and thick. It was like fog, a real bad foggy morning. And my son was dressed up as Harry Potter. So his shoulders are stacking up with snow, the hood, because he had the robe, the hood's filling up with snow. We had to like dump that a few times, brush him off. he had a Hufflepuff, hat on and stuff. We're brushing that off. And then his trick or treat bag is this stick, and it was kind of cool because you can kind of reach out. So it's got a hand, and in the center of the palm is where the candy drops in. And so you hold it out, and the hand was just covered with snow. It was like you were, packing up. And so what was bad when we didn't realize that later on when we got home, it was great that was working, but we didn't realize how much was getting inside the bag. Because later on, we get home and we're sorting through the candy to see what we got, which was a pretty good haul. And I'll get to that in a second. But there was the regular little bags of M&Ms, just the standard M&Ms. Do not. So if you're an M&M fan, do not get those packages wet. I'm just telling you. Tip of the day: do not get those M&M packages wet, because they're not waterproof. They're not waterproof, and it got to the point where the coloring, you could see it through the brown packaging. The coloring was wearing off, and so brown packaging is turning yellows and blues and reds, and it was like, yeah, we're not going to eat that. So. Tip of the day: do not get your M&M packages wet. Bad idea. So that was hilarious. I mean, we were like, what happened? Did he put like water? And then we realized all the snow that dumped in, but it was kind of hilarious. Hey, Mary, good to see you. Hope you're doing good. I hope I caught you before you left. And Kelly, you got nothing? How is that even possible? Mark was saying this was when Muskegon, they got clobbered 30,000 people. Yeah, like I said, it was rough for some people. Yeah, Kelly, I mean, we got smoked here. I mean, it was I would say when it was all said and done, I mean, I want to say it went for a good, I want to say it snowed pretty close to 40 some minutes. I mean, it was a good 40, 45, maybe, give or take a little bit, but it was definitely I think they said officially for the areas, it was like 0.7 of an inch. So, I mean, but a lot of times with grass and stuff, I mean, it's stacking on top of it. So it looked like it was deeper than it was, but yeah, no doubt it was over. It pretty much was about an inch, I would say for sure. Because I knew I took photos the next morning and it was still, covered everywhere. But like I said, that was interesting. And then there was the talk about, you know, some of the people handing out candy were all like, were admiring the snow and stuff and just like, what is going on? And people were like, I've been here forever. And like, I only remember once as a kid that there was some flurries, but it wasn't heavy. It was just a few flakes. So it wasn't bad. Rain, cold, we've all had that, and warm ones, but I've only remember once where it's just a few flurries, but nothing, that was bad or ruined anything. So, but yeah, that was super interesting. I mean, with that rain and stuff, or the snow, and how fast it came in, and how, I mean, it definitely scared a lot of people away. And it looked like a lot, you always see the parents that bringing out the single digit age kids, there was just not that much. And like, my neighborhood's really huge. I mean, there's so many streets within this area, and I've lived here since 2009. I've never seen it this quiet before, ever. And there was talks of people like just not, there's been some anti-Halloween stuff going on apparently, and people just don't want to do it anymore. But yet it's still like the second biggest holiday of the, money wise, So I didn't get that and stuff, but it was, but the weather, I mean, it was cold, and I can imagine not wanting to take little kids out. I mean, it's being a responsible parent, even though it stinks to lose out. And I know there's also a lot of people that, from safety standpoint, like to do the trunk or treating because everybody's right there and safe. I get it, but I mean, that's the thing is like, why, that's why you walk with your kids. You know what I mean? I mean, once they're a teenager, if they still want to go out there, it is, you think they can take care of themselves, but so yeah, it was just odd, but like I said, it was snowing so heavy that I can imagine why would you want to run out in that, and I'm sure that if they were going to hand out candy, then they had plenty to give to their kid at some other point. So, um, Kate's saying, I asked the kiddo who was Harry Potter to make up all the spells. Like that. So he didn't. Stopped a minute later. No. Hey, that's pretty good, Kate. I like that. Carrie's saying she got over 2. Yeah, Margaret's saying she got a dusting. Yep. But the news said it was the first time since 54 that we has a right. Well, Dad, that's what I'm saying. There was a point, but it wasn't accumulating, so it wasn't like anything major. It was just like there's a few flakes in the air, so it wasn't. I remember it, and it was again not enough to where it was it was just like, hey, there's a few flakes in the air, So yeah, I do. Yeah, I think when you're saying snow, I mean, okay, it's just like rain. We get rain, but you could get a trace of rain and it's like, okay, it's no big deal. But we're saying they're talking about like something that actually accumulated. Cause I remember seeing that all of them had a number of how much accumulated on Halloween. So it's all good, but yeah, put on the snow. Well, that's another thing, Margaret, right? They were, a lot of people were wearing stuff and they had their costumes on, but then they got coats and things over it. So yep, absolutely, Dad. Yep. Our town had Halloween parade on Sunday. We lucked out on weather. Yeah. I mean, the weekend, yeah, Saturday wasn't Saturday. Saturday was wet because I had every intentions of mowing my lawn. I'm now going into my 3rd week, but I'm cutting today. So technically it would be 3 weeks today that I haven't cut my yard. No, you're good, Jill. It's a extra Sunday morning, special. So a delayed one. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I'm like, man, if this was the week before, we would have been fine. But it is what it is. What can you do? But we still had fun. I mean, like I said, we stayed out almost pretty much the entire time. Like I think we walked back in literally with a minute or two to spare, and we just got to talking because there wasn't a whole lot, and then there was a lot of neighbors and things like that throughout the whole neighborhood that had fire. So you go up and get warmed up a little bit, and that was fun. And a couple of people noticed what I had intentions of dressing up. Unfortunately, once we saw that it was going to be 30s, I'm like, but what I did do, hey, Bonnie, good morning. What I did do, and a couple guys caught this, guys that are, some of them that are into sports, but I was wearing, I bought last year, or actually this year, for fun, but this was in the beginning of the year. Cause I was getting back into watching hockey a lot more. And so I wanted to always have my own set of hockey gloves. So I bought them because they're super cheap. And said, hey, Tom, good morning. And they were super cheap and they were just fun stuff. So I actually wore them out trick or treating. So I have these gigantic hockey gloves, and a couple of the guys were like, "He's got a good idea." You're pointing. He's got a good idea. He's wearing hockey gloves. I said, My fingers are pretty toasty. I'm not complaining right now." And everybody's laughing. So, it looks weird, these oversized gloves, but they kept my hands warm. I couldn't complain. So well, that was fun. Kate saying my 14-year-old was out the whole time with her. Yeah. I mean, you got troopers out there that'll just I mean, I remember, I did still go through high school, and you stayed out to the end. You did. I mean, it was fun. I mean, still enjoy it. I mean, at least I get to see it, through my kids' eyes. Unfortunately, my daughter could not go out trick-or-treating because this weekend she got involved with doing working with the local. Oh, well, she's in high school, but she's working with the plays. And so they had a play that started. And so she was working the sound, which for those that remember, I have a degree in audio engineering. So, so it's kind of weird to see that my daughter was working sound for the play. So it was kind of fun. And we got to go see the show last night, which was cool. It was fun. Neat to see it again. And it was fun watching, and knowing that she was working the board in the back with, one other guy too. But, so that was kind of cool. Kelly, your Ghostbusters onesie. I love that. Let's see. Yeah. Did you have to body check anybody? I didn't, because there wasn't enough people to do that with. Maybe bumping into my son, but I didn't. I wasn't hitting anybody else. But Jill's saying, let's see. Again, I got to start remembering to put these up. In the early 60s, we had to wear dry cleaning bags over. Jill, that's funny you mentioned, because there was talk, at least the last week or two, everybody was remembering. I even heard it on a radio show, because they still actually have real radio shows out there. And I was listening. They were talking about how a lot of those costumes, 70s, 80s, where it basically it was like a bag, a uncomfortable, sharp plastic mask that you could hardly breathe through, and because you were breathing, you got it so soaking wet that it was just everywhere. So, and there's been photos for years floating around that had those images of the my favorite is the one where they show this one. It's got to be in the late 70s, 80s, early 80s. Of you see all the kids in their desk at in the classrooms, and they just see this sea of bag printed outfits with their plastic mask on. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that so much. So but yeah, that was fun. But I get it, and even then, just some of the uniqueness of those outfits from back then, it's like, what were we thinking? But at the same time, it was cheap. And then I remember seeing, not so much this year, but I know previous years they show. Yeah, that's exactly right. The costumes even before that, where it was like whatever you found around your house. Now that some of those were even scarier than what people have now. So those were fun. But yeah. So and then to finish up the Halloween thing real quick, because it was not so many people. I mean, it was hilarious going up to houses, and they were just like either making my son grab it, which my son is careful, so he's only grabbing a little bit, and they're like, take a handful, and that's just how he is. They literally were grabbing handfuls and dumping it in his bag. And it was a good thing we took a secondary bag with us, because 3 times we had to dump it from his into the one that I had. And at the end, I'm sitting there carrying a ton of candy. So he made out really well, which was, hey, you can't complain about that. But I know for there's so much candy in this house right now. There's no need to buy anything for a long time. And I guarantee it'll probably still be here by springtime. Because it is a lot. I mean, I've snuck a few. I've been really good, trying not to overdo things, but I have snuck a few the last couple days, which I was pretty, happy with. But and this shocked my wife. I refused, and this is crazy. I refused, and I don't know why. I just did. I refused to have a piece of candy on Halloween night. I got a dirty look at that. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I really just wasn't feeling it. I didn't have any candy on Halloween. Go figure, right? Um, so I didn't. So, hey, Michelle, I know I could, Michelle. I could easily. We have plenty to hand out to everybody. I think everybody could get several pieces several times over, and still have some. My daughters are 19, always loved doing homemade costumes. My son 14. See, I forgot to do this. Um, Not so much we have to buy his costume stuff as realistic. I know, yeah. Yeah, see, sometimes it's fun to do that. And I know there's a lot more people that have gotten involved in creating stuff, or they get costumes and then they alter them to something else, which is great. I mean, the creativity is endless and stuff. And so I have my cousin's kid, who's a senior this year, very creative and very artistic, and he is created some amazing costumes over the years. I mean, for being a teenager and the amount of time and effort, I don't have any photos of anything, but just seeing some of his stuff is insane. And so I mean, hey, if you got the time and you're creative enough, I mean, by all means, tear that stuff up. So yeah, Dad saying, yeah, a ton of candy left over you have to eat. Maybe I'll give it to. Yeah, well, I mean, you probably give it to Cora, but at the same time, but yeah. So again, Halloween was cool. Let's see. One Halloween, I cut the sheet into 4 pieces, made a hole through the middle, put over the kids' heads, face painted each one. Right? Yeah, that's simple. I mean, it's truly simple. Yeah, there's not. I mean, that's all you got to do sometimes. Um, so yeah, so Halloween was still fun regardless of the snowstorm, blizzard thing. But so that was cool. And then uh you know, I had Wednesday off, and then Thursday, Friday, I was back to work, and we had, uh, it was kind of crazy. It was a real crazy thing. Work was Fridays have become the worst days at my job. I don't understand it when most of the people, because like they're only required to be back 3 and a couple departments 4 days a week. So Friday is always the day where the parking lots are basically empty. It's now our busiest day of the week. And that makes no sense. Nobody's around, but yet we are getting work left and right. And I just don't get it. So, and Carrie saying in Halloween, in high school, we had Halloween week. Each day was a different. Yeah. And you know what, Carrie, they actually do that. They actually do that several times, even though they don't call it like a Halloween week. Um, they do theme things, especially like for the football season, which now just ended. Our team was in their second round playoff and they got beat. But they sometimes during the week they would have like spirit weeks type of thing where it's like, okay, dress like this, or like one day was dressed like a teacher and stuff, and then the teachers had to dress like a student, and one of them was like 80s flashback and stuff. So they do things like that all the time, and even the marching band has that even during band camp stuff where they're dressing up and they gotta dress in all in the same color, for like their sections, their instruments and stuff. So which is cool. Even last night at the play, all the kids behind the scenes, hey Samantha, all the kids behind the scenes, like my daughter, they had to wear, they always have to wear black, but they did a fancy all black, so like dresses and nicer outfits that you would wear to like a real kind of special event type of thing. So it was so weird seeing stage crew, girls wearing dresses and stuff. It's like that, you're usually doing you got to do things and stuff. So it's kind of weird, but I get, but it wasn't bad. So it was kind of cool. So even theater, they were, having theme stuff going on. So that's kind of cool. Michelle saying, I have a friend. You have a friend. That's cool. Sorry, Michelle. Don't hate me. I have a friend from high school who has a costume design at the university. Her son's costumes every year. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, Dad, I know it's always for you. Halloween spirit. Hey, there's nothing wrong. I mean, people like really, October 1st to the 31st should be, 4 weeks of, Halloween spirits. You can always blame me. Right. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. But anyway, yeah. So I wanted to. We'll get to the topics. I know maybe some people are interested, and plus I know Kate had that question from earlier. But I kind of wanted to elaborate back on because I talked about the thing about our minds. And I've talked about things like this before, and I slip in a lot of things, and I've said a lot of things already just today that involve our minds. And much like last week when I was telling you guys, what things have been like, and no, it wasn't, Dad. It just was a big topic of the week, or a big part of the week. But you know, with is as much that I dealt with and still deal with, you know, that end result of knowing that I'll make it through this, was a never ending thing. Now, this is going to tie into Kate's question earlier. So, excuse me, another sip. Lukewarm coffee. It's always great. um, Sometimes we forget, sometimes we don't forget, which, ironic, right? Our minds. But there are so much things that, and again, I'm not I'm not trying to beat a dead horse in, but sometimes we need reminders, even like I said, even with everything that went through over the whole summer and, into the fall, there's always that voice still pushing you, and still you even at times consciously telling yourself, I'm going to get through this. I'm okay. Even when things might be bad at that moment, you have to keep that up. And we're all guilty of it. And we tend to, we always lean the wrong direction all the time. Something bad's happening. What do? We all boo-hoo it. We get emotional. We get angry. You know, when has that ever solved anything? I mean, that's the thing, is you think about situations we've all been through, whether it's recently or in the past, big ones, small ones. You think about it, if you reacted in any rational way or irrational way, did it just automatically get resolved and it's all better? Probably not. More times not. And we've you lose that moment of reality, to where you, regardless of your belief systems, there should always still be that universal thing of negative and positive, and knowing that if you're going to react emotionally, anger, sadness and stuff, if you that's you're leaning on that negative side. So what does when you lean that way for that, and there warrants it on certain situations, absolutely. We all do it. We're all still going to do it until we move on to the next part of our lives. But we can't forget to adjust ourselves. If you feel like, because I always said, what was the one thing I always used to say? If you have a bad day, okay, it's a bad day. Go ahead. If you're at work, come home, whatever. If you want to go right to bed, or if you want to curl up on a couch and bawl your eyes out, or you want to go home and yell and scream, or you want to go punch something, let's make sure it's safe, like a punching bag or something. No people, no animals, no objects. Don't do that. Do it safely and don't hurt yourself. But go ahead and have that reaction, have that moment. But like I still do. And I'm guilty. I'm guilty at times where I don't, I'll admit it. But you wake up the next morning, basically open up the window. You got to open up the curtains, and you got to look at things differently again. Because if you continue to put yourself in that space, you're just going to stay there. And that's why I think we forget so much, that when you're dealing with a situation like me, I can't change the fact that money was a big factor. I could try to certainly run out and get another job, but then how much more stress is that on me? I already work. I have to wake up early. I have to work 9 hours minus a lunch, drive an hour and 10 minutes there, drive another hour and 10 minutes going, to imagine just coming home to changing and then to go to something else locally, like, fast food or something, or a grocery store, work. Is it worth the stress? And that's the sort of thing that I personally play with. But hey, Amanda, good morning. And so, it's really key to, you know, deal with the emotion as it is that day, but when you wake up the next morning, we gotta go forward. And some of my worst days, I even I would wake up and I would put that intention, which is again going to kind of Kate's thing. It's putting that intention out there. And you have to do it and you have to be sincere about it. You can't just again, the whole Yoda reference, if I've always done, you have to do or do not, there is no try. Because if you just be like, yeah, I'll just wake up and it'll be fine. No, no, it won't. No, it won't. I mean, it may, but more than likely not, because you already put that energy out there. You didn't use your mind in a positive way, and you have to. And so every time I'd have a bad day, I'd wake up and I would just say, look, let's just do what we can today. And if things fell apart, they fell apart. But it didn't stop me from every morning waking up trying to make it, or putting it out there to make it that day. Hey, Veronica. And so, and again, we forget to do that, and I understand. I mean, depending on the situations, and some of them can be severe, and it's hard to stop for a second and think of that stuff. And I get that. Let's see, Carrie. Feel your feels, don't wallow, and then move on. What was the lesson? Attempt to see it and don't have to. Yeah, and it's so true. Right, because we all have to go through situations in our life. There are situations, and there's a big reason that you're going through it because you need it. You're gonna experience something almost exactly the same or something very similar when you get further down the road, and you will be well prepared, especially if are conscious of it when it does happen. Because how many times have you seen people go through the same thing over and over and over again, and they just never learn? Well, it's because they haven't recognized the fact that they haven't made that conscious change in it. I know I went through this before. What do I need to do differently? Um, Maybe some of you have seen the movie Groundhog Day. I haven't seen it in years, but that's a great movie. And a lot of this is, how many times did the Bill Murray character have to wake up and go through the same day? I don't even remember how many times it was in the movie, but he kept going up until he got it right. And he messed with it where he kept, doing bad things just because he wanted to see what was going to happen. But it wasn't until he finally stopped and realized, okay, I'm tired of doing this. What do I got to do? And so then he started figuring it out. And it's good. I mean, granted, we don't have those opportunities. I mean, who wouldn't like a do-over, I mean, I think we all have some point in our life that we would love a do-over, maybe a couple of them. And it could be small things. It could be small. It doesn't have to be some major thing, but that's how it is. Michelle saying, oh, oh, wait a minute. Where's my mouse? we have heard, that's awesome. I love that. I mean, you're left and then you're right. Carrie saying, we came here to experience life, all of it, good and bad. Absolutely. Yep. It's not always going to be, perfectly, fluffy, unicorns and clouds and beautiful scenic, oceans and stuff. Yeah. Let's see. He was playing with it until he learned it from it. Usually costs $5 in the mall. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The golf. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is you have to realize it when those moments are going on, and even then, okay, let's say we all had a good Friday. Okay. Nothing happened. So you still need to wake up today and set your your good right foot or whatever foot you want to start with forward, make the best of the day, even if you're not doing anything, even if it's a lazy day. You still got to throw something out there. I mean, are you I understand it, if like Margaret, I know, and I'm not calling her out, but she's not feeling well and she's dealing with some stuff. And so, how do you take that? Well, in her, thing is, it's like, okay, I'm sick. I'm going to, do everything I need to do to keep getting better, to keep, get myself back on my feet again, to be able to, but she's got to do that. I can't do it. We all can't. We can suggest it until we're blue in the face, but we can only like this. This is the point of like, throw these things out there, throw these seeds out to you guys that you can remember it. So that way, when it happens, you're like, oh, I remember this. I got to do this, But every day you should wake up, and be ready for the day, especially if you're not doing anything. It doesn't matter. Make the day fun regardless, even if it's a lazy day. Um, Nikki, you really have to train your mind to focus on the positive. You do, and it's not. It's crazy. You would think it's so easy. You really do. You think it's easy, and it's not. You have to focus on it. I mean, for years, you know, going down the spiritual path of things, uh, it's amazing how you've different situations for different levels of stuff, and I've had to work at things. Yeah, I've had to just like focus on this. Uh, I'm trying to think of examples right off the top of my head, but I can't at the moment. But yeah, right, Dad. It it can well, as to say to to highlight as we start getting towards the end of the show. I It's important to stop. And I think that's where first, even if you don't know that you're supposed to do something or figure out a positive way of turning things around, you still need to stop. And we live so fast and we're so chaotic and we know we got to do this. We got to go here. I got to do this. That's life. I mean, like this week, the shuttling around, even with me being off a few days, going and picking up, kids and watching the times and my, daughter, working late, because of dress rehearsals and things. That's all a part of it, but you still don't look for the good stuff that's happening, you know? And let's see, Kate's saying, real quick. My motto for the last few months has been burnt out, but optimistic. Yeah, I mean, and again, we do. You're burnt out. I love that, burnt out and optimistic. Yeah, because it's gonna turn around, even if you're having it rough. It becomes easier the more you do it. People, yeah, and it does absolutely, Carrie. 100%. That's the thing is when you're conscious about it and you know that, hey, I'm going to wake up today. I'm going to make the best out of this day. And I know that's cliche. I know it is. It sounds crazy and stuff like that. But sometimes you gotta, okay. I mean, when you recognize it and then you just do it and don't fight it and just be like, yeah, everybody says that. You kind of throwing yourself off there a little bit, you just go for it. And like I said, it's not, a lot of the stuff is not brand new. You know what I mean? There's ways of looking at things from different points of view, but the general topic is there. We all know that. Let's see, stop and smell the roses. Yeah, Dad. No, I mean, it is. And that's key to a lot of situations is, there's a time and a place to react instantly because it's a serious, serious, serious situation. People have heard of, flight or fight. And even then the fight doesn't have to necessarily mean a real fight, fist fight kind of thing or whatever. But it's how do you approach a situation? Yes, you do have to react at times, but there's also a lot of it that is, if you just take that first step backwards and realize that I need to see this picture differently. And I've heard that, and I've mentioned this on the show before, and I've started to consciously do this too. Whether it's in personal life, whether it's at work, I've done that at work many, many times over the years now. That I really do. I sometimes you physically actually do that first step back, and you just go over everything that's going on, and then and it's funny is that it's amazing how the clarity of the situation happens, even if you don't have a resolution to it, but having the clarity to realize, oh, you know what, maybe I can do this, or maybe I should talk to this person. And all those ideas just start to just naturally show up in front of you instead of like where it's like, you're stuttering and that's why sometimes just take it easy for a second. And you realize how much more you can solve something or figure something out. Margaret saying, if I understand things right and hope I did, the level I exist is supposed to be a learning experience. Cool. School is not always, well, yeah, I mean, and it's a forever learning thing. We're always going to be learning, the farther we go. Um, so 1 second, guys. So let's see. Veronica. Many years ago, I changed my thoughts when I woke up to say it's a new glorious day. The sun is out and it's a new day. Hard to do, but totally worth it. Yeah. And sometimes that's it. Coming up with a creative slogan, creative, prayer, if you will. You can say a number of things. And whether it's something that somebody else has said or somebody else that you can uh, adapt to, like I have ritual prayers that I do. And, I don't usually give them out. I give people hybrids of it because they're mine. And that's the way it should be. You need to put your own energy into those words. And I like that, Veronica, because yeah, it can be so simple. It could be just a simple thing. And even if, like she says, the sun is out, okay, sun's not gonna be out every single day. So it's gonna be cloudy, but the sun is still there. So even then, you don't have to go technical on it either. It is a glorious day. Every day you wake up is a glorious day. It is, you were able to wake up and be a part of the world again. And that's special. Not that it ever truly ends, but from a human standpoint, there's a time limit, but there's still other things at another point. So, but yes, every day should be, and to have a line like that it's awesome. Um, let's see, you're good, Dad. Amy, I could throw it. I don't. Oh, it will fit. I wasn't sure if it's good. Very wise. I wish everyone could hear. In my experience, most people just spiral in their emotions and seek others to validate and reinforce their feelings, often negative, to justify negative behavior patterns. It is so important to your spiritual development to step outside and what feels and looks like something objectively. To get clarity, a lot of how we feel about things come from the learned experiences, good or bad. It takes time to sort out the learned behavior from where it comes from. Absolutely. Beautifully said, Amy. I love that. Um, and yeah, I hate to see, like I said, I hated struggling. I hate seeing others struggle, and you just want to shower everybody with do this, do this, do this, and you're trying to cram things on people, and you hate to say it, but that's why sometimes you throw a little bit at somebody that's going through something and then hope that it sticks. And what works or what has worked for you, and to then try to, you want so badly, like me, I want to help so bad, all the time, even during the whole summer. The times I was talking to people, I was still trying to be myself and throwing things out there, of encouragement or making people think a different way, even while the whole time I'm dealing with stuff. So I can't, it's hard for me to just stop outright and and not want to help. So it's important that when we do reach out to help people, you're not cramming something on them, because then that's going to make them, fall down further. So that's another key thing to think about, how our minds work, is as badly as it is that you want to help somebody. Because like I said, I'm stubborn to so many people here and so many people that are not watching. It's 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 hard to reach out to somebody when you're struggling, when you know roughly what needs to happen. And so to ask for help sucks, I can admit that. Because I just want to be, hard-headed about it and just deal with it and not bother anybody, which nobody here, I'm sure, if I came to them with something, I don't think I'd get any kickback on that. I don't think I would get anybody being critical of me, or being like, "What's your problem? Just get over it." I don't think any of you would ever do that to me. So, but yet my mind plays that game. So that's another thing I have to battle, is trying to get those notions out of me. So that's something I'm working on, is to try to do that. And I have, and it's slow. It's a slow progress, like Carrie was saying earlier, and a few others. It is a slow process to learning to stop that, and it's key too to uh, you know, trusting people, and I've had some trust issues this year. been burnt um, in the past, and it sucks because I've trusted some things, and it really came back and bit me a bad one, and so that hurt. And so it's like, and so it's hard to reach out then, and so that's why when those happen, then you really revert back even further than when you where you were before. So, um, Michelle's saying she does them. Nikki was saying I do. Louise Hayes affirmations. Yeah, Louise has a lot of good things. I know she's passed, but she's still her books and other things that are out there of hers still ring true. Uh, let's see. Hey Jen, no worries. I see you. Let's see. Correct, Dad. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, and it's just how you approach it. I've done that even this week. I've reached out to a few people, and you're it's funny, you're almost being encrypted on how you say things because you know what you want to say and how you want to say it, but at the same time, you have to do it on how well they're going to receive it. Because again, if you say it the wrong way, you've lost them. And it doesn't matter what direction it is at that point. So yeah, you always have to be careful on that. So uh, but again, yeah, it's when like I said, that's as we finish up here. That's why I wanted to kind of bring back a little of last week, tie it into this week because of, I wanted to push it home, because I know last week, Carmen put in the chat was that, hey, what was it that helped you get through it? And the whole thing of, being positive each day was a big one, because again, I was stubborn enough to not reach out. Hey, Chris, good morning. I was stubborn a lot. And and there was some people that I did reach out to. And again, even for me being in a state of wanting some help, I'm still being encrypted back of trying to sneak it in there. Sometimes there's a couple times where I just finally said something, but I still would start it off like I'm not trying to ask, but I am. So, which is hilarious, but so true. But yeah, I mean, and that was the tough thing too, is even to have some of the social anxiety that I was dealing with, where people were asking me to go hang out with them, Michigan, Ohio, and one, I couldn't afford it anyway, even locally stuff, but it just was hard to be around people because I just didn't feel comfortable. Hey, Katie, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it. So then that made it, so I was beating myself up pretty bad, with, didn't want to be around people, even though it's not like I hated people. I don't know. I don't think I wanted to give off what I was going through. I didn't want people to be like, oh, what's wrong? I didn't want to go down that path, especially being in person. But at the same time, I was stubborn. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to show that I was in dire need of love and light. And so that was all these battles that I had to keep overcoming, because I never truly did, other than just some light conversations with some people. But I never the conversations was definitely great and helpful, but I didn't go to levels, because I have a lot of holistic friends, and any one of them would be willing to drop. And even then, at the same time, so here's another stubborn part. I know that they are worth it, and I would want to compensate them in some way, because again, I know what it's like. And yet I felt bad to sit there and ask them for something like, can you give me a little cleanse, or can you give me a little healing? I felt bad asking for that because I know they're worth it. And yet I'm beating myself up over it. So, because I know I would, even though from my perspective, if somebody, and they have, I'm willing to give out a little bit, it's no problem. But yet for me to ask for it, that just, so yeah, so you can see there was just so many mental battles of that. And again, I started working at them one at a time. Get through this one. Okay, focus on this one. Start practicing this, or changing the way you approach this, and thinking great every day instead of thinking crappy, even if it was crappy day. So, so yeah, it's just one of those funny things and stuff. But especially now, getting to look back and you know, uh, it was a lot. And even then, like we've a lot of people have said, you know, I learned a lot, even with it being really bad. I learned a lot. I can kind of see things, try to recognize things quicker, so that way I can react to them in the proper way. Again, knowing that what I was going through and how I have to deal, it's just one of those things. Um, let's see real quickly. Sometimes, yeah, my dad's saying sometimes you can't please everyone, right? Well, and you can't focus even on your own. My dad especially, like, you can't even rel- um you can't even do that with family either sometimes, you know as sad as that is, it is true. Like, love the family, there's no denying that. But there's only so much you can do. Again, if you're going to be stubborn, that's on you. That's not on anybody else, no matter if they want to help you or not. If somebody's stubborn about a certain situation or whatever, that they have to deal with that, not me. And I don't put my energy into something that it's just a waste of my time, because if you can clearly tell they're not going to change, that's fine. That's fine. You know, but don't come to me looking for a solution when I tried, you know, but, and that goes for anybody, I'm, if I don't feel like somebody's listening, and I get it that, again, might have a stubborn moment, but again, I just you throw the stuff out there in the best way possible to make them think about it. And that's the whole point, is to think about it so they can, in their downtime, yeah, or maybe I could do it like this. Great. You know what I mean? Um, let's see. Oh man, this speaks to me. I hate asking for, all right, Kelly. Maybe Dad. I see. I think you get that from me. Um, Asking for help can be one of the hardest lessons to learn. Yeah, and it is, Chris. Absolutely. Yeah. It's tough, but I mean, you think about it, and some of the analogies I've used for others is, you know, if you're sick or you've got a severe injury, let's say you cut yourself with a knife, and let's just say it's really bad. I mean, like, deep. You're not just going to put a band-aid over it. I mean, you got to go see somebody, you know what I mean? And it gets to that where you have to think of that on a mentality standpoint. You know, I think mentally we take more abuse than physically. And it doesn't mean that physical stuff doesn't happen, like, like that, like a cut, but being in the presence of bad energy. But again, that starts to push on that more spiritual side of things. But mentally, we destroy ourselves, and some people can handle it a lot better than others. And, but again, that's who they are, and you just got to do the best you can with those people that struggle a little bit more. Shower them more with love, because that's, love and light, that's one of the things I say. You got to throw those at them all the time and make them feel that positive energy of those, because that's one element that's going to help. But granted, they still have to work that out through their head. But again, you just can only do so much. And some people are just going to have to deal with situations a little bit longer until they realize it, and it's tough. It's tough to watch. And that's another practice, especially if you have a family member that's being real stubborn about whatever, anything. And, you can only sit back and just watch, deal with it, because if you've done what you could, you've suggested things, and you've not, make them feel horrible about something, but you just give them enough of the information that's presented, and then that's it. You got to let them be. And if they talk about it, you almost have to let it go in one ear and out the other, because you can't keep it. You can't keep that stuff, because that's not yours. That was theirs. It's their decisions. Done. And that's another thing that's super hard, is blocking people like that, in life, even if it's somebody random, at the grocery store, at the gas stations, that's just being a jerk or whatever. That's them. That's not you, and even if it's a situation that something you did, you made a mistake, you can, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I'm so sorry. You do your part of apologizing. And again, if they continue on with, that's theirs. You did your part of, maybe, apologizing for if it was a mistake, And see Veronica saying, you have no idea of how bad my anxiety used to be. Yeah. And it is. Veronica, I mean, this summer was no joke for me. And even last year, there was a few months that were real bad too. So I know, so, but it's 10:35. So I'm going to get out of here. I've got some yard work to do because now that it's a little bit more dry, I can get a yard cut. It's been 3 weeks and get that going and get some stuff prepped because now it's continuing to get colder. So we got to deal with that stuff. But uh, thank you guys for showing up on a Sunday morning. This may happen, a little bit more often because, again, I wanted to still try to have something. So keep in mind, there obviously going to be situations like next weekend. There is no way possible that I can do a show at all because I will not be home at all. So we have our Old Mill Pear Fest. So if you're local and you got nothing to do, you can go to oldmillpearfest.com. It's our 10th year of holding this event, and we're obviously excited being 10 years of this. I mean, it says a lot for as long as it's been, including a year, in 2020 that was all virtual, but we kept it up and, we're pretty proud of it. So if you want to come hang out with us and spend the day, it'd be great. Doors at 9, speakers start at 10. We'll run until about 6:45, and you pay a little extra. You can hang out at the VIP party, which is also another fun time. We definitely the last couple of years we've done it. It's been pretty fun. So yeah, if you can make it, great. If you can't, that's okay too. And other than that, again, thank you guys for showing up on a Sunday, and anybody that's watching this back at some other point, appreciate that as well. And I'm going to let you guys go have your Sundays, and thank you for like the fourth time, because, again, I am very grateful for everybody that showed up here, even for a few minutes. I appreciate it. So, right. Okay. Well, take care. Enjoy your Sundays. Have a great week. I'm off all week, so I do have a couple fun things that are going on, but I'm going to post some of that stuff on some of the days that are fun. And then, it'll be difficult next weekend posting a little bit, but I'll see what I can do, or maybe I'll just have to collect things and then I'll post it the following week. So, we'll see. But, yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks again. Appreciate it. So you've been watching the Mid-Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. And I will see you guys all very soon. And with that, all my love, light, and peace to each and every single one of you. Take care.